Have you ever felt that after being with someone, something inside you quietly changed? Not something dramatic, just a shift you couldn't name. A version of yourself that felt slightly heavier, slightly less clear than before. Or maybe you found yourself thinking about that person constantly, someone you told yourself didn't mean anything, and you couldn't understand why they kept showing up in your mind. In your dreams, in the spaces between your thoughts. Maybe you felt drained without knowing why, empty in a way that had nothing to do with being tired. Or you felt a pull towards someone you knew wasn't right for you, and yet the connection felt almost impossible to let go of. Most people frame this as getting too attached, being too sensitive, not being able to keep things casual. But what if the explanation has nothing to do with sensitivity, and everything to do with something nobody ever taught you about what actually happens when two people become intimate? In this video, you'll discover what actually happens energetically when two people become intimate, why some connections leave marks that stay long after the moment ends, and what you can do about it. Stay until the end, because the final part gives you something most people never have, the language for what you've already felt. Here's the first thing to understand, and it changes everything once you really take it in. Intimacy is not just physical, it never was. When two people come together in that way, something happens that goes far beyond the body. You are not just sharing a moment, you are sharing energy. You are opening a channel between your nervous system and theirs, between your subconscious patterns and theirs, in a way very few other human experiences can match. You already know that spending time around certain people drains you, and time around others restores you. You can feel the energy of a room the moment you walk into it. Now imagine something far more intimate than a conversation, something where the walls between two people essentially dissolve. That is what is actually happening, and most people treat it like it has no consequences beyond the physical. Every person leaves a mark, not metaphorically, energetically. You take a part of them with you when you leave, they take a part of you. That exchange is stored in the body, in the nervous system, in the emotional memory that lives below conscious thought. And it doesn't disappear just because the moment ended. Now let's talk about what this looks like in real life, because you may have already lived this without having the language for it. There are people you were with years ago who still appear in your dreams, not because you want them back, but because something of them is still there, woven into your subconscious in a way you never consciously chose. Every person leaves a mark, and some marks go deeper than others. There are people you spent one night with who you couldn't stop thinking about for weeks, an attachment with no story behind it, no relationship, no future. And yet the pull was undeniable, because you took something of them with you, and they took something of you. There are people who, after being with them, left you feeling inexplicably depleted. Not heartbroken, just empty. And there are people whose anxiety became your anxiety, whose emotional chaos quietly bled into yours, without you ever choosing to absorb it. What researchers call emotional imprinting, and what ancient traditions called soul ties or energetic bonds, describes the same thing. Intense, intimate experiences leave lasting impressions in the nervous system and the subconscious mind. The language changes across cultures and centuries. The experience is the same. Every person leaves a mark. You take something of them, they take something of you. And unless something intentional happens, that exchange does not simply dissolve with time. If this is making you see intimacy differently, if this is the conversation you've been looking for but couldn't find, subscribe. This channel is for people ready to understand themselves at a depth most conversations never reach. New videos every week. And here is the part nobody says out loud. Most people are incredibly careful about certain things. They protect their money, they guard their passwords, they think twice before trusting someone with their private information. But those same people will share the most energetically intimate experience a human being can have, with someone they barely know, someone whose emotional world they've never explored, someone whose wounds and unresolved patterns they know nothing about, and think nothing of it. You would not hand a stranger your phone with every password unlocked, but energetically, that is close to what happens when you are intimate with someone you don't truly know. Because what you are granting them access to is not just your body, it is your nervous system, your emotional field, the subconscious architecture of who you are. And whatever they carry, their unhealed wounds, their unprocessed grief, their patterns, that gets access to you too. You take a part of them. They take a part of you, whether either of you intended that or not. So the real questions before intimacy are never just, do I find this person attractive? They are, who is this person really? What energy do they carry? What emotional world are they living in? And knowing all of that, would you still give them access to yours? The point of this video is not to argue against intimacy. It is one sentence. The problem is never the sex. The problem is the unconsciousness around it. When you move through these experiences without awareness, you accumulate things you never meant to carry. Emotional residue from people who never healed their wounds. Subconscious attachments to people who were never meant to be permanent. And over time, that accumulation weighs on you in ways you can feel, but cannot always explain. The exhaustion from nowhere, the emotional numbness, the confusion of feeling attached to someone who meant nothing. Every person leaves a mark, and when nobody ever told you that, those marks pile up in the dark. So what does awareness look like in practice? Before intimacy, ask honestly, do I know what this person carries? Not their appearance, but their energy, their patterns. What you can already sense if you slow down enough to pay attention afterward. Notice how you feel in the days that follow, more like yourself or less, clearer or more confused. Your body is already registering the exchange. The practice is learning to listen. And if there are people from your past whose energy still feels present in you, write about what that connection stirred. Sit in meditation and consciously return what isn't yours. These aren't abstract ideas. They are practical ways of closing what the subconscious left open. You are allowed to be intentional, not out of fear, but out of understanding that who you truly open yourself to shapes the energy you carry and the version of yourself you get to live as. Every person you have ever been intimate with has left something in you, and you have left something in them. That is not a reason for guilt. It is simply the truth of what intimacy is, once you understand what it actually involves. Real intimacy, chosen with awareness, feels entirely different from connection that is unconscious or driven by impulse alone. One expands you, the other over time quietly empties you. The problem has never been the sex. The problem has always been the unconsciousness around it. Now you have the language for what you've already felt, the unexplained attachments, the strange depletion, the marks that stayed long after the moment ended. Every person leaves a mark. From now on, you get to choose who earns that access. Before you go, one specific question. Think back to someone who left an energetic mark you never asked for, someone you couldn't stop thinking about, or who left you feeling emptier than before. Now that you have the language for what happened, the energetic exchange, the emotional imprint, the bond that formed without your awareness, does it finally make sense? Tell me in the comments, did you feel it at the time or did you only understand it later? And what do you wish you had known? I read every single one. The next video on screen goes deeper into one of the most powerful themes we touched on today. I think it will land differently than anything you've seen on this before.